A very good morning, His Excellency Minister, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, and Board Member of the Asian Ecotourism Network, Keynote Speaker, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. A warmly welcome to the first Asia Pacific Ecotourism Summit 2022, which is the initiative of the Asian Ecotourism Network to commemorate the 20th year of the International Year of Ecotourism. First, on behalf of the organizing committee, allow me to thank all the senior delegates, His Excellency, keynote speaker, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, for making your valuable time, your support, and your interest to participate in this important event. To run the event smoothly, we would like to ask for your kind cooperation to keep your audio mute, and if you have any question, please kindly use the sign to raise your hand. For speaker, please kindly rename yourself as speaker in the front and then your name and your country. For AEN board member, please put AEN and then your name. For general participant, please put your country and then your name. The Asia Pacific Ecotourism Summit 2022 was endorsed by the Regional Support Office for Asia and Pacific of the United Nations of the World Tourism Organization. This summit is a unique global platform for ecotourism practitioners and like-minded stakeholders in a two-day event with focus on enriching ecotourism talk and networking from the Asia and Pacific countries. The summit is hosted online by the Asian Ecotourism Network and co-hosted on-site in Jakarta, Indonesia by the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy, Indonesia Ecotourism Network, and the University of Pajajaran of Indonesia from the 8th to 9th of January 2022. The day one program is divided into morning and afternoon session with expert talk on different topics related to ecotourism from various stakeholders. In this unique global platform, we have a great honor to welcome the participation of His Excellency Dr. Sandiaga Salahuddin Uno, Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy of the Republic of Indonesia. His Excellency Dr. Teong, Union Minister for Hotel and Tourism of Myanmar. Mr. Pompol Notam Maras, the Chief of Knowledge Transfer and Consulting of DASTA, Thailand. Mr. Masaru Takayama, the Chair of Asian Ecotourism Network. Mr. Hector Ceballos Lascuren, the pioneer of ecotourism. Mr. Glenn Jampol, the Chair of Global Ecotourism Network, and many well-known and famous speakers from around the world. To share their ecotourism experience, represent different sectors of the ecotourism industry. The event is supposed to conduct physically on-site. Unfortunately, with the challenge of COVID-19 and various variants, including Delta and Omicron recently, the event is switched to be conducted in the hybrid format. The positive side, we can enlarge the participation from everywhere to participate online to keep people safe, and at the same time, they can participate and share their expertise in this important event. His Excellency, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to kick off the Asia Pacific Ecotourism Summit 2022, allow me to invite Mr. Masaru Takayama, the Chair of the Asian Ecotourism Network, to deliver his welcome remark. Mr. Masaru is a community-based ecotourism consultant with expertise in energy conservation, green building, nature science, and experience in outdoor activity, especially with marine environment. He founded the world's first ecological association called Japan Ecological Association, which later grew in the Asian Ecotourism Network. He is founding chair of the AEN and Japan Alliance of Responsible Travel Agency. He also served as the ecological advisor to Asia Pacific Tourism Exchange Center, auditor and advisor to the Green Destination Standard and Travel Light, trainer and Global Sustainable Tourism Council, and member of the board of directors at the Ecotourism Japan. visiting researcher at the Thai show. Masaru also served as an evaluator of Tourism for Tomorrow Award, the World Legacy Award, National Geography, while Asia Responsible Travel Award. Mr. Masaru, please deliver your remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. Very good morning to you. I'm very happy this morning. On behalf of Asian Ecotourism Network, we're very happy to have a number of distinguished guests and endorsements from UNWTO Regional Office of Asia Pacific, Ministers of Tourism Indonesia, Minister of Hotels and Tourism Myanmar, and we are good friends from very big Thailand, Pelajaran University, Indonesia, Global Ecotourism Network, European Ecotourism Network, and of course, Mr. Hector from Mexico, our good friends from all time. The 20th anniversary is a very important year for us. And this year, we remember 15 years ago when we had the Oslo meeting. That was the 5th year since the International Ecotourism Year. Since the COVID-19 outbreak, it has been very challenging for everybody, not only tourism, but the people we live in the nature in the cities. And we have a dream, and this dream is now come to realize today. We want to identify what we could do to accelerate ecotourism, authentic ecotourism for Asia by the Asians. From the ancient history in Asia, we say the most important elements or 5 phases that are air, water, soil, wood, gold. All these elements describing interactions, relationship with phenomena. Of course, nature is certainly one of the most important ones. These elements give us lives, but it also means destruction. It means regeneration. It also means birth and death. So all this air that we breathe, the water that we drink, and it's taken for granted, but it's something that we need to be thankful about. And we should be responsible for being alive on this planet. I think everybody who are in ecotourism can agree with me on this one, especially for people like ourselves, living over half a century. We have a lot of experiences, the pollution, the desertification, deforestation, the global warming, but most of them are human-induced problems. At the same time, we are trying to recycle, reduce, refuse, carbon neutrality, MDGs, SDGs, all these intentions for the good of the earth. We are trying to work and make actions every day. Many people can agree with me that people like to travel. People also like the nature. The influence of the environment and the travel, it's not only the nature, but also the community that live, especially around the ecotourism destination, is very important. We also have to accept that the mass nature tourism is out there, which also is not helping the nature, but depleting the environment. I myself had the pleasure of visiting over 18 countries, maybe over 700 cities and towns. Most of them are Asia Pacific, but every one of them are jewels or the treasures of the world. But these treasures that we have are not shining as it was, and they should be more shining. I think many can agree with me that also in the Western world especially, that the nature and culture has been separated. But in Asia and Pacific, the nature is culture and culture is nature, especially the sacred areas that we admire as a part of ecotourism activities. They are inseparable. It's not something that we can choose one over others. The AEN family, maybe we meet more often than our actual relatives and families many times. We are born in those respective countries in Asia Pacific. We understand the interactions of nature, culture, and the benefits of tourism as a tool. AEN sees very important the community-based ecotourism for that very reason. We're proud to say that we have 35 board members, international board members from 21 different countries. In addition, we have 6 other Thailand board members. We all pay to AEN as a member, and we work on a pro bono basis. But how do we do this? Because we are all together in our mind. Like introduce the countries alphabetically: Australia, Bhutan, Cambodia, mainland China and Hong Kong, India, Indonesia, Japan, Laos, Malaysia, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nepal, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Philippines, Singapore, South Korea, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, Thailand, and Vietnam. We are not certainly the pros of the Zoom conferences, but we have the wisdoms and experiences of ecotourism. Ecotourism is not a destination. We think it's a journey. A small country or one project may be too small, but when we get together, like raindrops over time make a hole through a big rock, it becomes a big force. Every one of us here is like a different kind of flower. They may be blue, they may be red or white, or they're just the roadside flowers with no names. But we all have the same weight of the beautiful life and exerting the same amount of energy to make a flower. So this is what AEN is all about. We think about what we should do to exercise ecotourism, to pass on the wisdoms and experiences of the ancestors, and using ecotourism concept as a means to protect the nature, to alleviate poverty and make global friends like we do today. So we sincerely hope that today, the commemoration of the 20th years of the International Year, this Asia Pacific Ecotourism Summit will end with success. And thank you again for everybody on this online and some people actually physically attending in Indonesia. We look forward to discussing about ecotourism and celebrate this year. Thank you very much. And we look forward to working with you and having a good time with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Masaru, for your warmly welcome to our honored guest and meaningful remark. Next, I'm pleased to invite Mr. Hector Ceballos Lascuren, the pioneer in ecotourism, to deliver his keynote on ecotourism to inspire our next generation. Mr. Ceballos Lascuren is a Mexican architect, environmentalist, and international ecotourism consultant. He has conducted research and provided consultation in more than 80 countries worldwide on all aspects of ecotourism planning and development, including the architectural design and construction of ecological and other environmentally friendly facilities. He has co-authored more than 130 books, reports, and articles, and is credited the coining term ecotourism, its preliminary definition in July 1983. It's our great honor to have him with us in this important event. Mr. Ceballos Lascuren, please.
Good morning from Mexico. It's a real pleasure to be with you. First of all, I would like to thank my very good friend, Masaru Takayama, chairperson of AEN, for inviting me to be with you. And it's a real pleasure. My only regret is that this is not physical. I would love to be in Asia. I love Asia. I've been to several of your countries, and I really love being in Asia. Since I have accumulated youth, I have a perspective that Masaru was making the comment. I can see a perspective of time and space. I've been seeing what has been happening with nature-oriented travel over the last 50 years. I began traveling as a young child in Mexico with my parents and my sister. And my trips were always trying to admire, to visit the natural areas of Mexico, the different forests, the savannas, the deserts, the islands, together with its cultural heritage, especially archaeology. My father was a great admirer of Mexican archaeology. So I started traveling around Mexico, and I discovered very soon that this kind of trip was not a very common way of traveling in Mexico. Most of my friends and relatives traveled to go visit the family, or to go to a big city, or to go to a big beach resort. And I was interested in seeing nature and seeing culture. And pretty soon, this was in the 50s, in the 60s, I started traveling to other countries. And I started developing this idea of creating a new term for ecotourism that described people traveling specifically to go see, to admire, to study the natural and cultural heritage of our wonderful planet. And this became in the early 80s in my coining the term ecotourism. Briefly, we all know that the origins of ecotourism, most people agree that it was in the early 70s in Latin America, specifically in places like Costa Rica and the Galapagos Islands in Ecuador. I had the fortune of visiting these two areas in the 1970s, and this contributed to my developing the idea of creating this new thing called ecotourism. I wanted to be an ecotourism consultant, but first I knew that I had to be an eco tour operator. So I created the first ecotourism operator in Mexico called Eco Tours. And this gave me a perspective which now allows me to see things in a way that many young people haven't had the opportunity of seeing. Two important events that I had the opportunity of being a part of was in 1992. I was the coordinator of the World Parks Congress of IUCN in Caracas, Venezuela. And for the first time, we talked about ecotourism in a World Parks Congress of IUCN. So this began really spreading the word around. Then 10 years later, in 2002, I participated at the Quebec World Ecotourism Summit. I was a coordinator of Latin America. So this permitted me to see how things were happening during these years. And now 20 years after the Canada Ecotourism Summit, we see a lot of changes and a lot of things have been happening. First of all, it's important to be sure of what we're talking about when we speak of ecotourism. There's a confusion of terms. People confuse ecotourism with sustainable tourism, with adventure tourism, rural tourism, agrotourism. They're all different concepts. I don't have time to go into detail. I will just tell you that ecotourism is a part of an umbrella concept called sustainable tourism. Sustainable tourism is any kind of tourism that contributes to sustainable development. And ecotourism is a very special kind of sustainable tourism because it has to do with going to relatively natural, undisturbed areas in order to appreciate them in an environmentally friendly way, seeing the flora, the fauna, landscapes, complemented with cultural heritage elements, including archaeology, but in such a way that we minimize negative impacts, that we involve the local communities in a positive way so that they can have very important participation, and this will contribute to sustainable development. That is ecotourism. Ecotourists are nature lovers. Other kinds of nature tourists, such as rural tourists, they enjoy more being in a farm and living the way the farmer lives, milking a cow, seeing how agriculture works. But ecotourists enjoy mainly nature, admiring relatively undisturbed natural areas. And of course, this means that a true synonym of ecotourist is a nature lover. Many ecotourists live in big cities, but they're traveling to rural areas in order to admire the natural and cultural heritage. But things are changing. Now, many local people, many domestic tourism, including rural inhabitants, are also getting more and more interested in their natural habitat and their cultural habitat. So these are the things that have been changing over the last 20 years or even 50 years. 30 or 40 years ago, most ecotourists were foreigners, rich foreigners going to third world countries in order to appreciate their natural and cultural heritage. And now every country is doing ecotourism. And that's a big change. And a big change has been now further developed by COVID, this pandemic. For the last 30 years in my talks, my conferences, I've been saying that many or most of human economic activities were on the wrong track. We're doing things in an unsustainable way. And I was referring of practically every human activity, town planning, urbanism, agriculture, forestry, petroleum, fishing, you name it. I was saying that we're going in the wrong direction and we're going in the direction of a catastrophe. A lot of people told me that I was exaggerating, that things weren't so bad. But now, 2 years ago, that the COVID appeared, we see that these things are happening now. So we're rapidly changing, and this means that tourism has to change. The bad news is that humans have produced most of the negative changes that are happening right now around our planet. The good news is that if we really want to, we can change things and make them better. And we will never go back to the pre-COVID times. Those people that want to go back to business as usual, I think we have to think that things will be different, and things are changing. The big hotels are empty right now, or they're just busy for a few days or weeks a year. Now tourists are trying to go to more natural areas, outdoors, being in contact with less people, limited numbers of people, and this means ecotourism. This is the great opportunity that ecotourism has. We have to take advantage of this window that COVID is giving us. And apparently people are recognizing that it's more important and more interesting to visit natural areas than going to crowded places or visiting cultural sites like archaeological sites. I'd like to make a comment. We used to talk 3 or 4 years ago that we're having an era of changes, but now with COVID, it's a change of era. Now it's post-COVID, post-appearance of COVID, which is totally different from before COVID. And this means that we have to think of in a different way. I've been developing an idea that I will try to develop in a coming event that I will talk about, the World Ecotourism Summit in Spain. And I would like to stress the singular aspect of ecotourism from an economic perspective. And most of my economist friends, I have a lot of economist friends, seem to be not aware of the situation. Ecotourism is unique in the sense that it is the only human economic activity that uses natural resources, but uses them without touching them, without consuming them. And that is different from forestry, from petroleum activities, mining, agriculture, animal husbandry, where there's a tremendous impact on these natural resources, and depletion is what is happening to many of these resources. But the important thing in ecotourism is that the raw material, pristine nature, is left as pristine as possible. That means that this economic activity does not turn a raw material into a product. So that means that we're saving a lot of energy and a lot of resources by conserving nature as it is. That's very important. For an economist, this has to be tremendously attractive. So let's try to talk a lot about this theme, because politicians and entrepreneurs have to think more about this. Most people are changing their travel habits. And as you know, it's not as easy to travel to faraway places. So ecotourism is now becoming more important for short distance travel. People getting to know their own countries instead of taking an airplane and traveling 5 or 6 hours to another continent. Many ecotourists are now staying at home in their country and learning to visit, to appreciate, to know, to love, and to conserve the cultural and natural heritage of their own countries. So this is very important. I'd like to talk a little about very specific kinds of ecotourism. Bird tourism. I've been a bird watcher all my life. Bird tourism is the most important segment of ecotourism, and Asia has a tremendous potential to be a great birding destination. It already is. There's only in the United States, official figures talk of 60 million bird watchers. So we have to have these bird watchers being attracted to visit other countries. Little by little, this will be happening if we manage to control COVID. The important thing of ecotourism as quality is more important than quantity. And it's important also to recognize that United Nations recognized 3 or 4 years ago that ecotourism is one of the main tools for eradication of poverty, and also for stopping deforestation, destruction, especially of our tropical forests. So ecotourism means don't knock down native forests anymore. We need agriculture, we need wood, but please do agriculture, do logging in places that have already been affected by human activity. Let's not touch our native forests. Let's have ecotourism happening there. That will produce more money, and in the long term, conserve our ecosystems better. The best way of stopping destruction in natural areas is by having more ecotourists visiting these areas. And I make a call to all governments around the world to give more importance, a high priority to ecotourism, high priority in politics, in economics, and in everything else. To finish, I would like to make a brief comment that hopefully this year we will have the World Ecotourism Summit organized by the Spanish government, both at the national level and at the provincial level in Valladolid, Spain, in September of this year, hopefully. We have the participation of Masaru Takayama as ambassador of Asia at this World Ecotourism Summit. We also have the participation of our good friend Glenn Jampol, which will be speaking after I finish, and he will be representing, he will be ambassador of the Americas at this World Ecotourism Summit. There have been some recent changes in the government, in the local provincial government in Spain, but they tell me, our Spanish friends, that summit will be held perhaps not in September, perhaps it will be postponed a couple of months, or maybe even early next year. We will let you know as soon as we know what is happening. And we hope that you will be participating very actively. Masaru Takayama, as ambassador of Asia to the World Ecotourism Summit, will be organizing different meetings, regional meetings, so that he will be gathering information, ideas, challenges, and interesting things that are happening in different parts of Asia. So thank you very much and much success in this event. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ceballos Lascuren, for your inspiring remark. We really get inspired by your extensive and wonderful experience in ecotourism. Next, I'm pleased to invite Mr. Glenn Jampol, the chair of the Global Ecotourism Network, to deliver his keynote. Mr. Jampol is a certified pioneer in Costa Rica tourism with his highly awarded Finca Rosa Blanca Coffee Farm and Inn, which is one of the National Geographic unique lodge of the world. He was an innovator in using interpretive guiding principle and practice for melding agriculture and ecotourism, focusing on education and inspiration for the guests. From 2006 to 2013, he was the president of the Costa Rica Ecotourism Association. Currently, Mr. Jampol is the chair of the Global Ecotourism Network, representing 6 global and regional ecotourism networks, and founding member of the Latin America and Caribbean Ecotourism Network. He is also a director of board of the World Food Travel Association. Mr. Jampol is also a coffee farmer and the owner of Cafe Rosa Blanca that was the global winner of the Rainforest Alliance International Sustainable Standard Setter Award. Mr. Jampol, please.
Well, thank you, everybody. Nice to see you all. Sorry, I got a little bit late here because of some computer problems that I've been having lately. And of course, it always hits at the time when you least want it. But I'm okay now, I think. If for any reason it crashes, I'll get right back on again and hook up. But it's great to be with you and all the esteemed members of the ecotourism world and my good friends, Hector, Ceballos, and Masaru, and Mihi Kang, and so many of you that I know. Really great to be here. So I'll share my screen. Is that the way you want to do it, or do you? Yeah, okay. So I'll share my screen and do comment on some of the things that Hector touched upon as well, and some things that we're doing in the Global Ecotourism Network. So can you all see this okay?
Yes.
Everybody see this? Am I okay there? We're sharing it?
Yes, look great.
Okay, good. So we're all embracing authentic ecotourism, hopefully, and I want to talk about the Global Ecotourism Network, of which I'm the chair. I know a lot of you already know a great deal about it because the AEN was the first regional global network to participate with Jen, and we at Latin American and Caribbean Ecotourism Network are following a lot of the model that you created with the AEN. So for us, it's a big treat to watch you grow and try to follow in your footsteps. So in 2016, when we started Jen, we also updated and actualized the meaning of ecotourism by adding the idea of interpretation, education, and also the well-being of indigenous people. We're working constantly on updating our definitions so that we stay abreast of what's going on in the rest of the world and all the great innovation and creativity. And we're a group of now, we started with 10 members. We added 4 later. Albert Teo, of course, was a member and a founder and is our esteemed friend who's no longer on the, but was part of the founding group. And then later we added 4 people from around the world, including Luna Haddad and Jorge Moller, Igor Alto, I'm sorry, Rukel, I'm thinking of the architect in Finland, and Kirsi Hiverninen. But what we stand for is nature, innovation, interpretation, very important now, and particularly in post-pandemic, or hopefully post-pandemic, and restoration, a word that we're starting to use more because sustaining is not necessarily good enough for the future of the planet with all of the climate change and problems that we're having evolving as a race and as a planet. And it's very important that we talk about better tourism, not more tourism. And part of GEN, of course, is the 6 regional global networks around the world. As I mentioned, AEN, of course, is the leader and the model for us, but we also have one in North America, one in Latin America and the Caribbean, one in Europe, one in Africa, which is being just started now. Australia, of course, is part of the AEN. We also have one in the Middle East and Northern Africa as well. And hopefully all of these networks will be able to work together and combine their knowledge and experience in a big package for global ecotourism network. So in GEN, we cover over 99 countries, 6 regions, over 80 languages, and actually today I think we went over 5,000 members who are basically people who have allied themselves with us through Facebook or our website or other social media. We're not a membership organization, so we don't have the facility to offer memberships, nor do we want to. And you can see from the chart on the left there that we have GEN is kind of the hub of a wheel, and out of this hub are 6 spokes, 6 wires that connect the outer part of the wheel. And this is what we're working on right now. You can see that so far established regional networks are LAS in Latin American Caribbean and AEN, of course. And we're now the North American Ecotourism Network is also in place and working. So you can get an idea of how we work and how we cover the globe. But we are talking today partially and are working on the celebrating 20 years since the Quebec International Year of Ecotourism. You can see on the left our esteemed friend and architect and the inventor of the word ecotourism, Hector Ceballos Lasquin, and we have Ron Mader and Hitesh Mehta. Hitesh, of course, is one of the founding members of GEN. He's from Kenya, but lives in Fort Lauderdale. And we're going to celebrate some of the things that we discussed at Quebec. I personally was not at the event. Hector was. I know Mihi was as well. And 20 years later, we have a lot to talk about and a lot to learn. But it spelled out the challenges of how we could contribute to sustainable tourism and development. And now we're into the point of restorative tourism development. And it was discussed afterwards when we were all members of the International Ecotourism Society. We discussed about how to build bridges between the private sector and the public administrations in countries and in international networks, NGOs, agencies, and also, of course, the support and development of local communities who would then be able to develop their own ecotourism policies and projects. You can see on the left, this was the original logo for the conference. This is way before we came up with much more sophisticated Photoshop and imagery development. But we talked about and developed in ties later to recognize the valuable role that ecotourism would play in sustainable development. As Hector mentioned, there's a big difference, although there is also a great overlap between what sustainable tourism is and what ecotourism is. Hopefully, ecotourism would be completely sustainable, or as I like to say, restorative or regenerative, but it's not necessarily so in terms of what the offer is for an ecotourism project versus how responsible they may or may not be. Ideally, they're both. We wanted to maximize the potential of ecotourism, how well it was managed, and how it became an economic factor, a criteria for developing projects that would focus on conservation, amongst other things such as socioeconomic involvement, and create a win-win situation financially so that they could continue to sustain themselves financially. We wanted to support the viability and performance of ecotourism by having distinct activities, education, training, learning how to market, and also create a desire for a traditional or conventional traveler to change their chip, if you will, and become more of a responsible traveler, and through that be able to foment and develop the idea of ecotourism internationally. And we were trying to develop ways of certifying sustainability issues that we were confronting in terms of businesses, but also in terms of how we could reduce our footprint, our impact, not only in terms of the planet, but also in terms locally of our local governments and communities. We've done a lot of work in the last 20 years, and there's been a lot of development. And thanks to many of you here today, we have a very vital and ongoing, glowing concept and commitment to this. So I wanted to get back in terms of what who we are appealing to, and what kinds of priorities the typical ecotourist has. This is a poll we did in Costa Rica, asking what their priorities were for a great and fulfilling experience as a tourist. So you can see that the most important is excellent local guides, which means interpretation is the single most important thing that guests who are coming to Costa Rica were looking for. Small groups were very important. So you're talking about personalized tourism, areas with controlled visitation. In our national parks in Costa Rica, for instance, we only allow 300 people sometimes a day to visit the park. As we go down the list, you can see the priorities get smaller and smaller. On every single one of these categories that we asked about, they all ended up paying more, and cost was a less important attribute for their trip. The most interesting part of this graph for me is the last thing here, which is golf. And a lot of times you'll hear about golf courses or development of golfing as an ecotourism development, which is a kind of greenwashing, but only less than 1% of the people in Costa Rica, where we have lots of golf courses, actually play golf. So it's become a technique for some bigger hotels to align themselves with ecotourism and pretend that they're doing the right thing, where in reality, it's a very low desire for the ecotourist in any way, shape, or form. But what we need to avoid is things that are not certifiably or authentically ecotourism. And authenticity is a very important word, because nothing can really be authentic as soon as a tourist is involved. As soon as a tourist sets foot in a place that has never had a tourist, it's already impacted. But the idea is to try to create a kind of symbiosis between the tourist and the natural area so that we have the minimum amount of impact with the maximum amount of education and fulfilling experiences. As you can see here from a very recent survey, 94% of the global travelers said that it was important to them that companies that they engage in have a strong purpose, commitment, and they should make a profit as long as they have a positive impact. So there is the understanding that tourism companies need to make a profit. So we're confronted sometimes with this confrontation between the impact of our travel and the communities in which we tread versus the idea that we need to move forward. We need to sustain our businesses so that we can create more projects and do more good. We're all business people who are in the hotel business, and as I am, and we need to have a positive bottom line in order for us to continue doing what we do. So the interesting and most important aspect of dreaming about an ecotourism project and developing this idea is to have some kind of knowledge, some kind of education. It might be through your own personal experiences. Develop that experience from the knowledge you've acquired, and then through that become innovative and creative and begin to not only create something that is desirable, but also educational and reductive in impact and proactive in education and training. I think that's my 15 minutes, right? So I, again, thank you very much. As Hector mentioned, I'm sorry about this. This is part of the text up above is part of my computer issue that I've been having. Hector mentioned that that we're engaging in the World Ecotourism Summit in Spain, hopefully in September. And you can see that the original date was the 20th to 23rd of September, but with the new COVID waves, we're not exactly sure if that's going to occur or not. But I think Jen will be a big part of this. Hopefully, we're working with the people from the World Ecotourism Summit in 2022. This year, and it could be and probably will be a very important event for the whole ecotourism world. So hopefully all of us will be there and we can meet and have a few drinks together, and certainly a lot of laughs as far as I'm concerned. And again, thank you so much for all the great work that AEN has done and all the leadership you've shown to the rest of the world on how to take an area and really develop it into a thriving network for ecotourism. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jampol, for your valuable time to participate with us and your excellent and meaningful presentation. There's a lot of knowledge, information about ecotourism development to learn from your presentation. I'm pleased to invite Mr. Pompol Noitamaras, the Chief of Knowledge Transfer and Consulting of DASTA Thailand, to deliver his keynote. Mr. Pompol is working in a government agency. He developed strong knowledge and skill about sustainability, as well as experience in community engagement, stakeholder mapping, public hearing with related law and policy, and Thailand public administration and budget system. In addition, he has developed lots of connection and network in the domain of sustainability, both nationally and internationally. These people are key for success in number of his project. Mr. Pompol, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone, to all my friends in AEN, and also some new friends that we meet for the first time today. On behalf of DASTA, I'd like to congratulate first for your summit today. Actually, today is our is Thailand's Children's Day, so many of our executives is not available. So, but I have no kids, so I'm pretty much available, and pleasure. It was pleasure to be invited to be the part of this summit. Could you please have authorize me to share the screen? Can I? Okay. First of all, I would like to congratulate, say the congratulations to AEN. Actually, we have seen the AEN from the scratch. This picture is from 2015 that we have like MOU with the AEN, and now we see you are growing up and have a lot of network throughout Asia and also in the global level. So I'd like to congratulate for your success. For one who haven't heard about us, our organization called DASTA, is shortened from the Designated Areas for Sustainable Tourism Administration. We are the public organization and a governmental agency that are responsible for developing some destination assigned by the government. So we usually we don't work nationwide. We work under the assignment of government in some areas that need to develop in the sustainable. Sorry, to develop for the sake of sustainability, and also to like to manage and intervene some policy to make it better. So today, actually, I would like not to give like some instruction or any success case from outside, but I would like to say something as a keynote about this topic today. I think the first day of your summit is about political will to support ecotourism. Actually, I'm not an expert of ecotourism, but we usually work to as the destination development office, and we pretty much work in terms of sustainable tourism. As Mr. Hector said, actually, sustainable tourism has to, it is the umbrella of any kind of tourism. So not only ecotourism, but also like mass tourism has to be sustainable too. So in terms of our government roles, I would like to share and also to remind ones that from the government side like us today, that actually what is the necessity of our assistance about the government that can support the business or support the industry, the tourism industry. You know that I would like to share with you that the first before DASTA has been established in 2003, our government think about the sustainable tourism, and it's not easy. We have like an option A that actually to develop destination for the sake of sustainability. We examine that we need to amend a lot of laws and also need to reorganize many agencies, which is quite difficult. So the government come up with another idea that we need to have like another agency that have a role to coordinate among authorities in Thailand. For example, like policy, budget, implementation, intervention, anything. So we come up with this idea. So the government established DASTA to work as this kind of the task to fulfill the sustainable tourism. So I would like to share from our experience and remind all of you that from the government that why we why the tourism industry need us, because we have the authorized and have the power to intervene something that need to be intervened. So why we are needed? I would like to share that kind of the challenge that we have after we work for a while for the as the for the developing the destination. So the first one that I think is quite a challenge, not only in Thailand, but also throughout the ASEAN countries, that actually we have like the overlapping of the administrations and authorities, because the tourism destinations usually overlap more than one authorities. And also even one agenda that we have to work, it's related to many stakeholders, not only in the public stakeholders, but also in the private sector and also the civil sector. I would like to share you one example. I'm not sure that everyone knows this destination. It's called Khao Yai. It's quite very famous destination for Thai people, and also for the foreign people too, because it is the World Heritage Site, and it's quite close to Bangkok. So many of Bangkokian need spend the weekend in this destination. But this destination is located in 4 cities. That means if you need to manage this destination, you have to you have to talk with 4 cities, 4 authorities of the city to manage only one destination. You see, it's overlapping, and not only the 4 cities, but 11 districts, 17 sub-districts, and more than 20 local administrations. So it's quite challenging that we have to cope with. And also about the agenda, you see that there's a lot of the players that plays in role in only one destination in each agenda that we need to you need to cope. So it's quite challenging that you can see that almost every agenda that related to sustainable tourism development is most of them not related to the Ministry of Tourism. You see, it's related to almost every ministry. So it's quite, that's why I say it's quite challenging. The second one, we need to have like the incentive. You know that I think everybody know that in terms of tourism or in terms of like environment, sustainable environment, it's hard to have everyone to have the good incentive from their own view. So government have to have like a creative incentive, like subsidies, tax, regulation, but need to be creative, you know, not like something like you force them too much to do, because you're gonna have like the backfire from that. One example that I would like to say that right now, because of the COVID-19, we come up with the idea that we like to give the incentive to the hotel that need fund to restart the business. We think about having the lending or even grant the fund to restart the business, but in return, we're going to like under the contract, we're going to have them to participate or to join the standard certification, standard certification, for example, like Travel Life or maybe Earthcheck, like that. In return, I think this incentive is going to have the business to have the willing to join, because in the in the normal time, it's quite hard to have them join this kind of certification. For example, the third one that I think we all agree that green technology right now we need to have the big investment. It's not the good. It's not cheap. It's quite expensive. And we think that our business or private sector or even in civil sector rely on us, rely on the government role to have the investment of the green technology to help for the sake of sustainability. And the last one, because tourism destination development need to have like some experiment in some way. This one I was suggested by Kun Sophea. I think she's one of the AN member in Thailand. I'm not sure she's today right now, but she said to me that working with the government in one way is very good because the government have
We lost you, Mr. Pompom.
okay. I don't know why this mute me. Because tourism business need to have like a new products to deliver to the customer, but they have like they don't have much money to invest, so they stick with the same old product for the long time. So working with with the government, and I think it's also our roles also is that we can develop some new things to make it easy. We can afford to have the failure, so we can try some new things to deliver to the business sector and also to deliver to the customer. We can have like a exploring some new research, examination, or any demonstration to look for some new things. That's why that's why the Kun Sophea said that working with a government like this is quite quite a benefit to the business sector. So that is all I would like to throw to the floor, to the summit that we have, that I wish that the ones from government like me, like us, have a debate or suggest something more about government role that we believe that we are very important to the tourism industry, and also we have the role to support the business, especially in this time after the COVID-19. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pompom, for joining us and sharing your inspired experience. I received a message to give 5 minutes for question and answer, if any, before we proceed next. Thank you very much for all the keynote speakers for the first session and for your kind cooperation to make this morning session going well, regardless of some technical issue. So before we proceed to the next agenda, so we would allow 5 minutes for question and answer, and then we will have a 5-minute break and continue with the session talk. So please, you can proceed your question.
Yes, thank you. Let me introduce myself. My name is Mr. Siraj. You can call me Siraj. I'm from the Lombok Tourism Polytechnic in West Nusa Tenggara. I teach in tourism planning and also tourism arrangement. For my question, how to anticipate the big issues about the sustainable tourism? Nowadays, a lot of new destination is opening by the government, especially in Labuan Bajo, in Mandalika, Danau Toba, and also in everywhere. How to anticipate the big impact, especially in issues of sampah? I mentioned the rubbish, I think like that, and also how to anticipate or controlling a good management for the people coming to the destination in order to protect or in order to anticipate good manage, good visitor, not I think they come in destination to do something well, to support the local society, the local community. And the third, how sustainable tourism can be anticipate the developing of new era in tourism, especially from the mass tourism to be a small tourism or quality tourism related to COVID pandemic 19. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the question. Any speaker
welcome.
would like to take, or would you like to address this question to which speaker?
Yeah, to Mr. Pompol, I think so.
Okay. Mr. Pompol, please.
Sorry, sorry, sir. Can you repeat your question again? Because I'm just back from toilet.
Okay. Okay, let me repeat my question. Nowadays, there are a lot of new destination in Indonesia, like Labuan Bajo, Mandalika, one of the sport tourism, MotoGP and best World Superbike, and also in Danau Toba. Also, many new destination was planning by Indonesian government. My question is how we can anticipate good management and good trip to support this new destination by the local visitor or international visitor. For my second question, how we manage the local community in their new destination opening or building by the government in order to support local society. They still have protective his culture, local economic, and local culture. I think like this. My third question is: Indonesia, one of the biggest country, have forests, have nature, and have culture. How do you opinion about Indonesian culture? How many years again our culture, our nature will be still protected? Because from day to day we have many new industry to support it. And the last my question, you have said there is incentive creative economy. Do sustainability tourism always talk about economy, especially in local community, and what kind of a local economy should be supported by creative incentive in your paper? Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. A lot of questions, actually.
Yes.
Very difficult question. We also have the problems of sorry.
I'm sorry, sir. I forget to introduce myself. I teach in Lombok Tourism Polytechnic, especially for tourism and tour and travel management.
Okay. Thank you. For your first question about like the developing the new destination. First of all, I'd like to make you all understand that we are developing countries. And we also we need to have like the tourism as one of the mechanism in terms of economics to run our economics. To develop the new destination, actually, in my opinion, and also in terms of Thailand aspect, is that Thailand we don't have the problem about the income. I mean, before the COVID, we don't have the problem about the income from the tourism industry. But what we have is that we have the problem about how we can disperse the income from tourism to the local community. Local communities doesn't mean only the people, but also the local business, both directly in the tourism business and also indirectly in the other people that haven't directly related to the tourism industry in each destination. So to develop like a secondary destination, we have to see the opportunity. Can be the landmark or some kind of man-made. Could be the man-made, could be the natural destination. So to answer your questions, quite difficult to see if that how we would like to have a lot of. I confess that we need to attract a lot of tourists by any kind of activities like you said, like the motorbike and some kind of international sport event. But in the same time, we think that kind of activities could bring the money directly to the community. But our challenging is that how that the communities or the people in the destination can connect to that kind of the income. We have tried a lot of things in the past years, like CBT, like community-based tourism, and we also try to studies about how that about the economic linkage that play in the real life, that play in the communities. The one that we found that is that some kind of misunderstood, quite distort the understanding about how the money from the tourists run through the destination. I don't have the answer for you right now, but right now we study. I mean, re-study again about economic linkage that that actually run through the destination from the income from the outside, and we believe that after we study, we can like have the solution in real life, that we can connect the communities with the real supply chain of the tourism in the destination. We would not want every communities to play directly in the roles of tourism. Not every, I believe that not every communities can be tourism destination, but they should not left behind. I understand, but how that we can connect them, because I see many of failure, not only in other places but also in Thailand, is that we try to force many communities to be like tourism agency,
right?
Which in many times doesn't work, because they cannot like compete with the real business industry in the real marketing. a lot of our communities fails to like that. So we come back again and see if actually maybe to make them go directly to be like direct in the tourism industry, like to be like the hostel or homestay or maybe the tour agency by themselves. It doesn't work in everywhere. So that's why we pre-study again about the economic linkage. Can I have your second question again?
The last question is, I would like to ask about destination or like in Indonesia, we have the name the kawasan ekonomi khusus or area local economy or like this. My last question is, what the way to support the destination with sustainable tourism? You have a concept that it's possible to make sustainable tourism in like in Mandalika and Labuan Bajo. What kind of suitable concept to support like Labuan Bajo and Mandalika as priority tourism destination in Indonesia? Maybe in Thailand, I don't know exactly. Do they have like Indonesia? We have 5 super priority destination like Labuan Bajo, Mandalika, Manado, and Borobudur. One of our Indonesian pride for especially tourism by the Mr. President of Jokowi. So do we have a concept? Is it possible sustainable tourism we make in priority destination was developing by Indonesian government today? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I can say like it is my opinion, and also there's a principle that of the DASTA when we work in to develop some destination for the sake of sustainability. Actually, the word sustainability cannot be defined in the same definition in every country's aspect. We know that what is sustainability, but what the most important that we use tourism to develop some areas. Most of our challenge that we use tourism to develop some areas in Thailand is about economy. So the first thing that in real life, the first thing that we try to cope with first is about how tourism can play the roles in terms of the economic development for in the destination.
Jampol?
Yes.
Masaru speaking. I think we have had enough overtime of the Q&A session. I'm so sorry to cut you off, but having all these people waiting, and we need to proceed the program. So sorry, but we will get back to you on this one. But we shall stick to the program. So thank you so much for your questions and answer. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
But my question is very, Mr. Pompo, my question is very, very big in Indonesia, because we have a 5 super priority destination. One of the biggest policy by government of Indonesia. We should set discuss as a priority discuss for this summit.
Sir, we want to try to proceed the program.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Yeah.
Thank
you.
You
can also contact our speaker for further discussion as well, because all the information of the speaker will be uploaded to the website. Then you can contact him for further.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's all.
So we have the last question from Mi He. Can we proceed with Mi He to Glenn?
Okay. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all excellent speeches this morning we have. And especially it was great to hear political willingness to support ecotourism. So I thank again for your excellent presentations and speeches. I have a question to Glenn Jampol. I was very impressed by the survey result of priority and preferred conditions for ecotourists, and also Booking.com's, the research result. It shows ecotourism can be sustainable economically, but to have excellent local guides and then small groups, well-conserved nature, environment, it's all needs the government support. So here we have the ministers. So I'd like to ask Glenn, what is the challenge to make the ecotourism environment to have the excellent local guide and other top listed ones with government support? And also I'd like to know you see economic sustainability in ecotourism.
Thank you for the question, Mihi. Very good question and really important, I think. Certainly, to answer the first part of your question, the relationship that small businesses have with the government of the country or the area they're working in is very important. Not only because you're often confronted with problems with permits and understanding of your goals and other things that might need some assistance from government agencies, but also to create a kind of country brand for what you want to do. And it requires a commitment from the government to get on board that bus, if you will, to ride that bus. In the case of Costa Rica, of course, I think you visited here, and as many of you I'm sure have as well. Costa Rica did a study in the early 90s to determine what the future of tourism would be. We had a tremendous growth from the mid 80s when I started working with the coffee and our small hotel, all the way until 94 or 95, it was growing exponentially, and the government wanted to know, how do we keep this growing at the rate it's been doing, because it's about 10% of our gross national product and very important to the growth of our country. And the study showed that the preference and the goals of most of the visitors who came to Costa Rica at that time were based on a couple of very important factors. Number one was the incredible biodiversity of our country, which has about 5% of all species known to exist on the planet, but also the kind and very pacifistic people that inhabited our country and do inhabit our country. And after the research was done, the company that did the study, I believe it was Menlo Group from California, but I'm not sure, said that that was such an important factor, the biodiversity and the feeling of people coming to a place that offered a lot of natural experiences, that we had to really find a way to authenticate that or certify it. So from that, we created our certification for sustainable tourism, which was very important in terms of ecotourism, because it was the first time any certification was forced. Sustainability incorporated more than just environmental conservation or biological considerations. It also included other factors that are now part of the 4 or 5 important pillars of certification on a very compressed way of looking at it, which is the environmental conservation, of course, but on top of that, socioeconomic involvement with your communities, education and training for people, not only from your local community, but from the whole country, and for tourists that visit, and also quality and service to the client, that they would have a quality and unforgettable experience. And this became part of our country brand, if you will, this certification. It's a whole nother conversation about how that's evolved and what the pros and cons of certification are, but certainly it helped Costa Rica develop a very strong brand worldwide. But in terms, before the government got on board with this idea of creating a sustainable tourism ethos in our country, there were many people, including myself, who were struggling, but also innovating new ways of marketing the idea of visiting a place that is good to live and therefore a good place to visit, and focused on culture and environment as our product and a reduction of our impact. Certainly we knew very little compared to what we know now, but the idea was to create a product that would have a sustainable, financially sustainable conclusion. Because for us, we were businesses, and in order for our businesses to survive, it has to make money. So the idea was to have a win-win situation where we could create a product, in this case, small hotels, that offered the desired experience, biodiversity and culture, particularly environmental culture, and that we could create a positive bottom line for that experience for the owners of these businesses. And so sustainability for us became not only sustainability in its classic terminology, but also sustainability as a financial consideration. The government would not respond to this unless they felt that this was a viable and profitable direction to take. And if you look now at Costa Rica, to give you an idea, every country is unique and has its own challenges and its own positive impacts. But for Costa Rica, 90% of the hotels in Costa Rica are less than 40 rooms. And that is a really outstanding consideration when you think about ecotourism, because when we started with ecotourism, we weren't necessarily what would be considered today as really sustainable businesses. We were trying to learn how to do that. And through the government, through involving them, first in the local communities and then later all the way up to the ministries, we were able to convince them that this was a profitable option for Costa Rica to take, and at the same time would help conserve the culture and the biodiversity of our country. I don't know if that answers your question, or did I not touch on anything that you were asking me about?
That's enough. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you to the speaker, and also regardless of our technical issue, we have a very productive session. So before we proceed next, I would like to give the floor to Indonesian colleague to give some information, and then we have a 5-minute break and continue with Indonesia talk. Thank you. Indonesia colleague, please.